Hello, my name is Chris if you didn't already know, and welcome to my show SmegChris Review. I know I'm back so soon. I did say there were other films that I wanted to see that were out right now. It's still true. Today's review is for a sequel, Pacific Rim Uprising. Here we have a pretty much different story to the original. It definitely starts off that way. It begins with a monologue by a character called Jake, played by John Boyega, who is telling us that it's 10 years after the war with the Kaiju. Jake is a thief who steals old Jaeger parts for clients who are building their own, but it also turns out he's the son of Stacker, who was played by Idris Elba in the original. Jake comes up against another thief, a teenager called Amara, who has built her own Jaeger robot. But then we start seeing a cool chase because apparently building your own Jaeger robots is illegal, but of course they get apprehended and we find out that Jake is actually a Jaeger pilot who has an attitude problem. Don't they all? Both are recruited into the Jaeger program as we start to see some changes, such as some new remote Jaegers and also a rogue one, both that have chain reactions that bring about the return of the Kaiju. That's the basic storyline, but there is so much more. In fact, there is too much more in there. We are bogged down by many characters, some who are just too cliched, some who don't seem to serve a purpose other than to make other characters look good. Then there are others that seem to change their personality altogether. But the one who stands out the most is Amara, played brilliantly by, hold on a minute, I can't remember her name. Kaylee Spiney. I don't know. It seems she's relatively new to acting, but she did it better than any of the others who have been doing it for years. We do see a few returning characters, but the main one from the original seems to be missing with no explanation as to where he is. That being said, I do like some of the new ones. There is also a twist in the story that I didn't see coming, but I still can't decide on whether or not it's clever or very weird. As for the action, it isn't really much that we haven't seen before, and I'm not just talking about the original movie, I'm talking about other monster movies too. There are some cool moments, especially the chase at the beginning, but there's not actually any wow moments. You know what I'm talking about, when you're watching the screen and you go, wow! Yeah, there's none of them. At least in the final battle we could actually see what was happening, unlike in the original where it was based under the ocean and you just couldn't really make out what was going on. I'm trying to say his name right, Guillermo del Toro, I think that's how you say it. He stepped down from the director's chair, but he stayed on as an executive producer. Instead we got Stephen S. DeKnight calling the shots, who did pretty well with his first movie. Unfortunately, it just didn't have the same flair as Del Toro did with the original. With some great characters, some useless, and a pretty weird convoluted story, I give Pacific Rim Uprising it doesn't quite live up to the original, but I still liked it. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching and subscribing if you have. Until the next time, peace out. I'm not sure, but I think my taste in television and movies has sort of changed a little. I kind of noticed a few years ago when I tried watching The Young Ones again. You see, when I was younger I watched that show and I loved it. A few years ago I watched it again and I hated it. I actually got rid of the DVDs, but I've noticed it on films as well. For example, I liked Captain America Civil War when it came out, but upon watching it a second time I realised it's a boring film. Same with the X-Men, I watched that recently. I was bored. I used to love that film. I still like X-Men 2. I watched that again. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but X-Men, just boring. But it also has changed the other way around as well, because just recently I watched Spectre again, and if I remember right, when I reviewed it, I didn't like it. I do now. I really don't know what's going off in my head. Just makes me wonder what films I didn't like before am I going to start liking now. I'll tell you one thing, I draw the line at Hercules in New York.